I will either find a way or make one.
A child stands in the temple of Carthage. His father, the great general Hamilcar Barca, places his small hand upon the altar of the gods. And there, with fire burning in his young eyes, he swears an oath that he will never be a friend of Rome. The boy's name was Hannibal, and that oath would shape the fate of empires. Hannibal Barca was born in 247 BC in the shadow of defeat. Carthage had lost the First Punic War, forced to pay Rome, forced to bow. But his father, Hamilcar, carried only hatred. Before he marched to Spain to rebuild Carthaginian power, he bound his son with that sacred oath of vengeance. Hannibal grew up surrounded by soldiers, elephants, mercenaries, and the sound of steel. He studied war as others studied prayer. He was not just a soldier. He was the living weapon of Carthage's revenge. At the age of 26, Hannibal took command of the Carthaginian armies in Spain. He was young, charismatic, brilliant, but above all, relentless. Rome, watching from across the sea, saw the rise of a new Barca with fear. Hannibal moved against the city of Saguntum, Rome's ally. He besieged it, ignoring the warnings of the Senate. When Saguntum fell, Rome declared war. But Hannibal was ready. He would not wait for Rome to bring war to Carthage. He would strike first, and not in Spain, not in Africa. He would strike at the heart of Italy itself. It was madness. It was genius. Hannibal would march his army across the roof of the world. 40,000 soldiers, 9,000 cavalry, 37 war elephants, through the Pyrenees, through hostile Gaul, across the mighty Rhone, and then the towering Alps, snow, ice, rock, ambushes from mountain tribes, men starving, horses slipping into the abyss, elephants collapsing one after another in the cold. For 15 days they climbed through hell. When Hannibal emerged on the other side, his army was broken, half destroyed. But he had done the impossible. He had brought war to Rome's doorstep. The year was 218 BC. Rome sent armies to crush this invader, but Hannibal was waiting. At the river Trebia, he lured the Romans into icy waters, then unleashed a hidden ambush. Tens of thousands fell beneath the Carthaginian blades. At Lake Trasimene, in thick morning fog, Hannibal set the perfect trap. As the Roman army marched between hills and water, Carthaginian soldiers descended on all sides. It was slaughter. 15,000 Romans were cut down, their bodies left on the bloody shore. Panic gripped Rome. The Senate trembled. But Hannibal's masterpiece was yet to come. In 216 BC at Cannae, the largest army Rome had ever assembled marched against him. 80,000 Romans against barely 50,000 Carthaginians. Hannibal placed his weakest troops in the center, letting the Romans push forward. Slowly, deliberately, his line bent back, curling into a crescent. Then, with perfect timing, his cavalry struck from behind. The Romans were trapped, surrounded on all sides, nowhere to run, nowhere to fight. It was annihilation. 50,000 Romans died in a single day. Entire legions wiped from history. It was the greatest tactical victory of the ancient world. After Cannae, allies across Italy abandoned Rome to join Hannibal. The eternal city seemed ready to fall. But Rome did not surrender, it refused. The Senate gave power to Fabius Maximus, the delayer. His strategy was not to fight Hannibal in open battle, but to bleed him slowly, to cut his supplies, to avoid his traps, to strangle him with time. For 15 years, Hannibal roamed Italy, undefeated, striking like a shadow. But Carthage sent no reinforcements. His army shrank, his hope faded, and Rome endured. Rome's young general Scipio Africanus brought the war to Africa. Hannibal was recalled from Italy to defend his homeland. At Zama in 202 BC, the two greatest commanders of their age faced one another. Hannibal brought elephants, his last weapon of terror. But Scipio had studied him. He adapted, opened lanes, neutralized the beasts. The Carthaginian lines broke. Hannibal was defeated at last. Carthage surrendered. Rome had won. But Hannibal himself lived on. For years he served as a statesman, always hunted by Rome, always fleeing from city to city. At last, cornered in distant Bithynia, the shadow of Rome closing in, he drank poison.
Let us relieve Rome from her long anxiety, since she thinks it tries her patience too much to wait for the death of a hated old man.
And with those words, Hannibal Barca, the terror of Rome, was gone. Hannibal was never truly defeated in Italy. He was defeated by time, by politics, by the relentless will of Rome. Yet his name lived on, whispered with awe and fear. He was the general who crossed mountains thought impassable, the man who destroyed armies thought invincible, the child who swore eternal hatred and became the nightmare of Rome.
I will either find a way or make one.
Hannibal Barca, a man who haunted Rome for all eternity. If you want more stories of war, of shadows, and of history's greatest battles, subscribe now and join me on the march through time. Comment below, which commander should we cover next? Your voice will shape the next campaign of history.